and today we're going to talk about tape bottom seal case erectors. Before we begin, I have a question for you all. Does anybody know how many cardboard boxes are used in the United States every single year? Wonderful guesses, all of you. The real number is 80 billion. So, consider that next time you're trying to sell one of these and they say they don't need it. Today on the agenda, we're going to talk about where to find these on Sigma's website. We're going to talk about what makes a tape bottom seal case erector. We'll talk about how and where customers use this machine and some of the upstream and downstream equipment you can look to sell or to look at whenever you're talking about these machines. Talk about some of Sigma's favored manufacturers, benefits and key features of these units. We'll also look at some of the industries you might find these in. Hint, hint, it's everywhere. And questions and key points when talking to your clients and customers regarding these machines. First and foremost, where to find this on our website. You're going to find this under our packaging equipment tab. This is under the subcategory of case erector, and this specifically is the tape bottom seal case erector. By definition, this type of case erector is going to use tape instead of glue to seal the openings of a case. The taping of this case is done through mechanical operation, so this kind of allows multiple sizes of boxes to be sealed. Yes, there are limitations, but a lot of these units are able to do a variety of different shapes and sizes. Well, not technically shapes, they're all boxes, but you get the point. Tape case erectors can have the case openings facing horizontally or vertically, depending upon the needs of the customer. And usually you're going to see 2 or 3 inch tape heads on these. There is the mythical 4-inch tape head out there, but that's not going to be as common, so not something to really consider here. And the size of that tape head is going to depend on the kind of case being used and the needs of your customer again, so keep that in mind. Before we really get into it, we need to talk about left-hand and right-hand cases. This may not seem like a big deal, but when you think about the kind of print and the packaging and the advertisements that go on a lot of cases, this is something to consider because most case erectors cannot run left and right-handed cases either at the same speeds or at all. Some of them are tooled for only one or the other. And I know what you're asking me, Tyler, how can I tell the difference? Well, it's easy. If you hold up a blank case and you put your left and your right hand out, as long as you know your left from your right, whichever hand is going to be on the bigger panel is what orientation case it is. So if you were to hold your hands up to the one on the left, your left hand goes on the bigger panel, it is a left-handed case, vice versa for your right-handed box. So that's the easiest way to do it. If you ever have questions, don't trust your customer, get a sample, have it come in, and then you can hold up the hands for yourself. Upstream and downstream equipment. There's going to be a lot when it comes to a case erector because when you think about splitting our customers' processes into processing and then packaging, this is kind of the beginning of the packaging side of things. So any of your processing equipment is going to come before this unit. And as far as downstream, everything following the case erector is going to be your packaging process in total. A lot of times you may not even see a case erector in line with the rest of the units, especially if we're talking automatic case packing. You may see these off to the side feeding into a case packer along with the actual unit that's going into the case itself, so keep that in mind. But upstream, you can look for things like form, fill, and seal, any kind of product inspection, metal detecting, x-ray, check weighers, things like that. Fillers as well. You're getting into downstream. Obviously, if you're erecting the case, you're going to need to seal the other side of it somehow. Case packing, stretch wrapping, palletizing, anything that has to do with case handling, labeling, coding, you name it. So location in a production line. So this is actually production line doing wet wipes. And this is a little confusing because you're going to see like a hand pack station here, but also a top load case packer. This is just kind of showing variety of options when it comes to looking at a production line like this. But as I mentioned before, the case erector, you're going to see that kind of in the beginning part of the packaging process. Obviously, all of the processing part of creating that wipe is going to happen prior to this. But you'll see the case erector is going to be at the beginning. It's going to come down either to be hand packed or it's going to be taken by the conveyor to a top load case packer. And then you've got your product in feed there in the bottom right. It's going to come out of that case packer after it's been packed, and either you have an operator sealing it or you have an automatic case sealer, then some type of takeaway conveyor to eventually be coated, palletized, stretch wrapped. You get the point. Our first video here is going to be one of our Sigma videos, so I will let Renee take this one away.
Welcome to Sigma Equipment. Today's cycle test includes a Wexar tape bottom case erector. This machine uses 480 volts with an air pressure of 100 psi. First, cases are loaded onto the magazine and pressed tightly together by the magazine pusher. Once the sensor sees that a case is in position, the bottom injector will push the case up into the top arm. The top arm will grab the two sides of the case by using metal pins inserted into the edge of the fiberboard. As the top arm swings forward, the case is unfolded into the open and erected position. The case is then pushed down into the bottom folders. Here, the minor flap gets folded first, followed by the major flaps. Next, the case gets pushed into the side belt conveyors. As the case is conveyed to the outfeed end of the machine, the bottom of the case is sealed with a length of tape using a Deca tape head. The conveyors continue to push the case out of the machine and to the next process. For more information on this case erector and other pieces of equipment, please visit us at sigmaequipment.com.
So in that first video, you saw what is known as the pin and dome style case erecting. I want to show another video here that is going to kind of outline the suction style of erecting. We'll kind of get into the differences between why you would choose one over the other here in a moment, but just to show you both right now. This is another Sigma video. This is an OK International Superformer. So you're going to see here, this is an inline magazine. So you have your blank cases there loaded in that are being held in place. Then you're going to have this suction arm that comes down using your pneumatics. It's going to suction that case, pull it apart as such, and then seal it just like you saw in the first video. Not overly complicated, but the mechanics are actually pretty interesting when you look at how do you fold major and minor flaps in a way that keeps the case oriented and tapes them in a more uniform way. So pretty interesting piece here. And of course, you would usually have a takeaway conveyor. Most customers don't want the boxes on the floor, but you know. So pin and dome versus suction. When you look at these two gifts here, you're going to see kind of the main differences between the two kinds of case erectors we're going to see here at Sigma. Pin and dome is using those pins to come down in between the corrugate and expand the case out, versus the suction that is going to do similar, but through the side of the box, not actually using these pins. The reason you would choose one over the other is a pin and dome erection style is going to be used for your heavier corrugates. The heavier corrugate that your customer is using, it can be more difficult to break apart that blank. Your suction style is going to be used for your lighter corrugates and is generally the cheaper option in a lot of cases. But if their corrugate is thicker or it is overly glossy or it has anything that was going to prevent the suction to be effective in that nature, pin and dome is going to be what you're using it for. But again, if it is something that suction works for them, this might be the better option. Sometimes it can be quicker and there's less mechanics to it that might make it a little easier to use. So talk to your customer, get a sample of their case, see what's going to work best for them. Manufacturers we like here, Combi, obviously, if you haven't guessed. Pearson, Wexar Bell, Landtech, Loveshaw, Mark. There's others out there for sure. But these are going to be a lot of the big names that you see here, especially here within the inventory. Industries used in, yes, food and beverage, cosmetic, pharmaceutical. Distribution and fulfillment centers is a big one because what do they do all day? They are opening boxes, packing them, and sealing them. The list can go even further because anybody who is putting their product in a box benefits from a case erector if they're trying to automate that process. If you're talking to your customer and unless they're sending it in an envelope across states or whatever, if it's going in a box and is being sealed in a case erection is going to be the way to go for them. Key features, just for our category takeaways here. Like I mentioned before, the suction cup versus the pin and dome system, something to talk with your customer about, get a sample of their corrugate and find out what's going to work. Side belt or lug in chain, this is just the difference between actual side belts moving the case along versus a lug in chain system. Again, it's going to depend on the corrugate, the size of cases that you're doing, things of that nature. Also, something to consider, inline versus 90-degree magazine. So in the videos we saw, those are variations of the inline magazine. There's benefits, pros and cons to both. The inline magazine generally takes up less space, but when you talk about a 90-degree magazine, if you have a production line in line, it allows an operator to very easily come up and load that 90-degree magazine. So again, just depends on what your customer's looking for. For acquisitions, a couple things to look at here. Tape head size, is it 2-inch, is it 3-inch? Also, last ran case dimensions. The nice thing is we are very familiar with case erectors here at Sigma, and so a lot of the times if we have the model, we can tell you, okay, here's your minimum, here's your maximum, but still talk to the customer because there are variations. There are versions of the Lantex that run supremely small cases. There's optional add-ons for oversized cases. Talk to them and see what they were last running, because that's going to kind of give you an idea of, okay, are they running the standard model? Are they running some type of specialized model? For sales, again, ask for a sample of the case. This can't be overstated enough because we can guess all day at, okay, yes, your case is this thickness, it should work with this product, that's fine, but depending upon if there's glossiness on the case, if there's already printing on the case, who makes that case, it may not work with one specific system or another. So get a sample, run it on the machine, see if it's going to work for them. Also, ask how their cases are being sealed. If they're going to automate the process of erecting said case, they're going to need a way to seal it. And chances are, if they're automating the erecting process, they're going to be open to automating that sealing process as well, which is one of the benefits of the combi here that we'll talk about. For the warehouse, especially with these 90-degree magazines, you'll see here that this is nice and secure. This is generally on a spring system, so if it isn't secure, it can very easily bounce up against the sides of trucks and can damage it. It can kind of off-center it, as well as ensure tape head is included. For some of these units, they're going to be nestled within the machine. Other ones, they may be taken out because they may not be sitting as secure on a truck. You don't want them bouncing around, getting damaged. These aren't exactly the cheapest change parts, so ensure that if it's been taken off, it is included whenever we're shipping the unit. So, engineering questions, again, size of the tape head, minimum and maximum case sizes. Is it a right or left-handed case? Again, some case erectors can run one at one speed, one at the other, or it can only run one kind. What is the output rate, air requirements, electrical specifications, the works. So for our equipment listing example number 1, this is K9247. This is the Combi Packaging Ergo Pack. This is kind of cheating because it is not just a case erector, obviously, but this is a really great unit and it's something that we distribute new for Combi. And what's so nice about this unit is when you're talking to a customer who is getting into the first forays of automation, they are starting to look at, how do I save labor costs? How do I save time? How do I increase my production rate? The first conversation you have in regards to packaging is, what are you doing about your cases? And if the entire process is done by hand and they're looking to fully automate it, because as everybody knows, staffing is a huge problem right now, this is their answer. The Combi ErgoPack system allows for completely automated case erection and case sealing. And the nice thing is it's rated for 1 or 2 operators depending upon what speeds they're trying to achieve, and it's extremely simple. All somebody has to do is stand there. The product in-feed is going to bring the product in after the case has been erected, pack that product, and then that conveyor is going to take it down and have it sealed. So even the most, base level, if a customer is looking to automate, this is something to talk about. Now, it may not be what they're ready for. Maybe they just want to start with the erector and the sealer by itself, but if they're going to get both, this is something to push for, because you want to talk about a unit that eventually will pay for itself. You're looking at it here, because again, if they don't have any idea of what the next steps are to automate, definitely something to consider if they have the capital and they're looking to really speed up that production. You'll see in the listing here, production output rate up to 20 cases per minute. Caveat there, optimal conditions is what your manufacturer is going to rate this at, and optimal conditions are rarely found outside of your manufacturer's testing facility. So keep in mind that the speed of your operators, the size of your cases, how much product you're packing, these are things that can affect your output rate. So customer comes to you and says, hey, it runs 20 cases per minute. That's exactly what I need. Have the conversation with them and say, hey, we're talking baseline versus optimal. What do you really need? And then go from there. Maximum case and minimum cases, you'll see those here. This is standard for combis of this unit. And again, a unit that is new, ready to ship now. I'm not sure exactly what lead times are. I'm guessing 29, 30 weeks at this point on a unit like this. So keep in mind, if customers are hurting for automation, we've got the answer. For number 2, this is C8499. This is a Wexar ABFT tape bottom seal case erector. So a couple differences you'll note here. This is the inline magazine versus the 90-degree magazine. This is a pin and dome style case erector here. Slightly different minimum and maximum case ranges here. Obviously, not as full and not as many options as a complete ergo pack. But if they're not ready for the full system, or maybe they already have a system in place that they need help integrating with, this is the option as well. So if they just need the whole system, Combi's right here. If they just need the case erector, we have those as well. So in summary, tape bottom case erectors, they're versatile machines. They're used in almost every industry. Like I said, 80 billion cases every single year in the United States alone. Anybody who's using cases is going to benefit if they're looking to automate from case erectors. The widespread use of automatic case erecting leads this to be a very sought after item for a lot of our customers, and we have a lot of different options here. So keep that in mind, that every customer is different. Don't be afraid to show them more options and provide them with different choices. And then the importance of samples can't be stressed enough. The worst thing you want to do is to sell a customer on a case erector to find out that they've got some type of weird thing with their case. Everybody wants to stand out. Everybody wants to do something different. Everybody wants to change the way their box looks if it's something that's going on a shelf or going to a consumer. Whether that be glossiness or advertisements or weird stuff with the thickness of the corrugate, this is always changing. And the nature of these things is you've got to get a sample in, talk to your customer, and make sure that we're remaining the experts on their process, even if we don't have their facility in front of us. So with that, any questions, comments, or concerns?